The evasive action failed to avoid the radiation within too close range, and the little Paolum was swallowed by it and then became speechless. No harm. Instead, there was a violent feeling of tiredness. Could it be abnormal magic? Naza's magic devil beetle. Like Anya, her magic is also abnormal magic. The thing that appeared of the girl who lost her right arm and became physically and mentally weak. The guilt of suffering became an opportunity to trigger this symbol of decline. One after the other. Feeling that the superimposed abnormal magic caused his abilities to drop again, Berlin became very angry. He threw away the silver arm wrapped around the axe, and this time he would kill Naza. But even faster than that. Thank you very much, Naza-sama. Above. Mikoto, who was flying in the air, placed her hand on the sheathed long sword. Naza is a bait. In order to prevent Berlin from reuniting with Alfrig and others, to prevent the resurrection of linking, she purposely chanted a spell out loud. Naza was tasked with the task of finishing and responded with all her might. The IAI move directly transmitted by the martial god caused a fatal injury to the first-level adventurer, whose skill had fallen to the limit. There was the sound of the villain falling to the ground. At the same time, there was the sound of Naza, who had lost her prosthetic hand, falling to the ground due to her magic reaction. The only girl standing placed the knife in its sheath. Gear, Valen, Berlin. Finally, it was the south. Surprise overwhelmed Alfred's body when he saw his younger brothers being defeated separately. Calculated from the beginning dash. There is a firm grip between the brothers. Good at looking for information and habits of the for warriors of flame and gold, like enemies. In this war game, that girl must have observed them as much as possible. Otherwise, it is just imitating the shape. These few people can also see through the disguised brothers. It even used the goddess festival's close-up attack as a camouflage material, and then tricked us. Lily used the only weapon, transformation magic, and waited for Alfrig and the others to take the bait. Looking at the girl who was exhausted and fell to the ground in the corner of his field of vision, Alfrig was truly speechless this time. At this moment, the fiery, parallel chanting attacked Alfrig's unshakable body. Aisha will never be arrogant, she swears that she will not waste the chance created by Lily and others, and will use all her strength to defeat the opponent. 3 younger brothers were captured. All that's left is Alfrig alone. The separate destruction planned by Lilaruka Arti opened a hole in the infinite link. On the day of the goddess sacrifice, the girl Alfrig agreed to finally defeated the Gullivers. The name of my blade of hunger and thirst is Hippolyta. Not long after, Aisha, whose entire body was covered in lacerations due to the resistance of the spear, finished the chant in one go. Hell KOs. A vertical strike directly from above. At the critical moment, he raised the long spear horizontally and built a defensive stance. The long spear and the Dapu knife crossed each other in the shape of a cross and were connected. However, this is your limit. A sharp red wave was released from the Dapu held by the weapon's hilt. The spear, broken in two, collided with him against the wall of the tomb, receiving a violent impact. Take it, little one. After finally taking down Alfrig, Aisha let out a roar of victory. Lunoa, Chloe, Mikoto, and Naza also let out a scream, and Haruheim, who was lying on the ground, also showed a sweaty smile. Thank you all. The severe pain caused by the comminuted fracture almost made Lily's consciousness fly away, and at this moment, the chant of victory brought her back to her senses. She forcibly lifted her face from lying on the ground and checked the surroundings and the battle situation. With the exception of Haruheim, the reserve team was eliminated. But the Amazons also managed to perish with the warriors. Now that Alflig and others have fallen, only Alan, who is still fighting Anya, is left. There is somebody. In the end, there was only one first-level adventurer left. Here you can try to solve it alone and with other people. It will definitely fix it. Then Lily struggled to move her still mobile right hand, and brought his orbs to her mouth. She pulls as loud a volume as possible from the body covered in blood and dust and speaks to the entire army. Is there anyone who can still act? The enemy's main combat power has basically been eliminated. The only ones left are the strongest and the goddess chariot. The girl's voice resounded through the ruins of the city. The strongest let Lord Bell and the others handle it, and the goddess chariot we will handle it. The commander spoke to the eye crystals scattered throughout the battlefield, calling for allies. Those who can still move, please go west. Please go support Bell-sama, go to Freya-sama. This is the first and last good chance. Obtain the goddess's flower. Obtain the victory. Please. The broken weapons and unconscious adventurers listened to Lily's voice in silence. The tough adventurers and warriors who have not been caught by the Ganesha family are unable to move. Everyone was as still as corpses. The silence in the ruined ruins of the past says it all. The warriors, exhausted before the end, were unable to respond to the young woman's pleas. There is someone, there is someone. Miss Lily. The communication was transmitted throughout the crystal and resonated throughout. The only person who listened, Cassandra, had tears in her eyes. I lost the right to fight. To save Daphne, she swore an oath to Hogni. She cursed herself for not being able to fight to the end as her friend said, regretting it while hugging Daphne who was still sleeping on her chest. The voice of the girl desperately trying to achieve victory was sucked into the sky covering the ruins helplessly. At this moment, he slowly fluttered his eyelids. Drive away the desire to enter the darkness and forcefully clear your mind. She didn't have the strength to respond to the girl. However, it must be possible to respond to her wishes. Then he moves her body. It didn't go very well, however. He is now in a half-dead state, similar to the adventurers who exhausted their strength and collapsed around him. It was incredible waking up. Consciousness was interrupted several times, and the time of forward flight was thinly sliced. So he relied on props. It is said that the panacea completed by the dogman was slowly taken out of his pocket. Even so, when he was lying on his stomach, he could only turn his face to the side at most. He had no choice but to spray the potion inside the stone slab where his cheek was. Like a victim greedily drinking muddy water, he miserably kisses the pool of elixir. Eventually he came back to life. While not a complete answer, at least it was found. So you can still move. Even if you can't get up, you can crawl forward. He picked up the weapon that fell into his hand and crawled forward, very ugly, but he moved solidly towards the goddess's location. Hedin looked at the scene in silence. He didn't interrupt. It didn't help either. But relatively, he didn't stop. If a strong-willed person really wants to climb it, no matter how unbearable it is, he will not stop him. Because this is proof of a person who is struggling to become capable. For the same reason, he didn't intervene in the fierce battle between Lily and Aisha and the others. He really wanted to mind his own business first. But they were much more capable than Hedin expected. With this ability, they repelled Alfrig and the others. Only one chariot remained. Then it becomes obvious where you should go. Just as he thought, he was about to turn around. The dark elf covered in bruises stopped him. Baptized by the flower of flames, the right half of the battle suit on the upper body was burned. The slender but well-trained chest and abdominal muscles are exposed, which can be called a loser appearance. His brown skin was also burned. Hogni pressed on the wound, gasped in pain, and stared at Hedin vigorously, as if she were trying to kill him with her eyes. What are you doing? Why, you betrayed Freya-sama. Daneslev's self-transformation magic was lifted. Not the king of war who ravaged the battlefield, but the truer words of Hogni Ragnar defeating the expressionless white elf. Are you kidding, Hedin? On that cursed island, that unknown hometown. Here, we have been fighting all the time, and the one who saved us, wasn't it Freya-sama? Isn't she the one who freed us from the king's shackles? With the previous blow, he beat up the compatriots in front of him with the scene of the day he swore allegiance to the goddess. Opening his eyes, he understood that when Hedin betrayed, the one who was most affected was undoubtedly Hogni.